Hello and welcome everyone to another Divine Download. If you are new to my podcast, my name is Angel. I'm the founder of Holistic Fashionista, and we are a community-based platform supporting those who are here to help create the new earth. And my special guest here today is none other than the Aunt Carla, who is a self-help witch, and she is definitely helping to raise the vibration of the planet and create the new earth. So let's give her a warm welcome. Thanks for being here, Carla.
Thank you for having me, Angel. It's great to be here.
Okay, so we're talking about one of my favorite topics, which you are definitely a little expert on, which is really about the body as a magic wand. So where do you want to start this conversation today?
Well, let's see. There is like this quote that many of us have heard. It's that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but we are actually spiritual beings having a human experience. So one of the things that's so very important that yes, we are definitely more than just a body. We are a spirit or a soul, however you want to describe that. But it's so very important that we pay attention to our body, because that's where a lot of information comes through that we interpret to get further downloads, to make things happen, create transformation. So it's important to know that you yourself are very powerful, and you don't need necessarily all these different things outside of you. So I like to focus on the self and how you're able to create that kind of transformation just by focusing on your inner world as well.
So what are some of the steps? So if everyone's like, okay, we're powerful, and we've kind of heard this being toyed around on the internet, we are powerful, more powerful than we can ever imagine, this vessel. So what are some steps or a plan? I know you do a lot of like magic and things like that in your brand. Where do you want to start with helping us to understand how to use this vessel to be and manifest magic into our life?
Sure. Okay. So first, we start with intuition, which isn't even part of the body, but that part of us that is very aware of more than just the surface. And information comes to us through our senses. So whether that is the things that we see on a visual level, the things that we hear, from our ears, and also the kinesthetic things like taste, touch, smell, and our senses, and also the intuition, that's another sense. And so the first thing I would say is to work on developing your intuition, and however that means for you. Some people like to use tarot cards. Some people might have another kind of divination process, or people just get divine downloads, whether it's from dreams, or some people have like the gift of second sight. They might have clairvoyance or clairaudience or clairsentience when they just feel things. So the first thing I would say is to work on your intuition so that you can begin to trust those feelings. So much when we ignore those intuitive hits, those divine downloads, that's when we often get into trouble. So whenever anyone is trying to go on a spiritual path or they're beginning this kind of journey, I always say start with learning how to read your intuition, how to trust it, and to own that as a power. To me, that's first. And then let's see. So then after you start owning that, then to really start paying attention to your body. So things like, so we've heard of like the chakra system, that there's all these different, there's like 7 energy centers in our body. The crown, well, let's go from the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown. So there's all of these different energy centers within us that affect different parts of us and how we express ourselves, how we feel about certain things. And when you think about those individual energy centers and you add things like your mood, how are you feeling? It leads to what we call, your aura, which is like a bioenergetic system. So I know I'm kind of going a little woo-woo today, but it's all good. But what this all adds up to is it's important to be aware of your body and what are you feeling and what kind of energy are you putting out? Are you feeling overly stressed? Are you dealing with some kind of chronic issue? Are there things that are bothering you that people can kind of sense before they even speak to you because you're giving out these kind of vibes? So it's about figuring out like, so it starts with that intuition and learning how to trust that. But the next thing is knowing yourself, like feeling from an inner and a very knowing, from a deep inner knowing. How are you feeling? How are you feeling about how you express yourself? How are you feeling about your connection to the divine? How are you feeling about how you love yourself, your self-acceptance? How do you feel when it comes to your security? All of these different things add up to, you know, the vibes that you give out. And when we have had different experiences in our life that make us less trusting, or maybe some of us or some other people that we know might be more of like an energetic vampire, all of this stuff, it stays with us energetically, and we feel that. So I feel that it's important that you know yourself, that you are self-aware. So I guess number 2 is become self-aware of how you're feeling. What are you dealing with right now? What are you experiencing? Are you working on shadow work? Do you need to work on shadow work? I think all of us do to some, there's no to some extent. Everyone has to work on their shadows, because there's all this stuff going on within us. And that is also how it also affects how we are. It affects our spiritual journey. So it's important to just feel whatever it is that you're feeling, because that's also another way that information comes to us that affects our spiritual journey. So whether that's, you might hear like your spirit guide say something to you in your ear. So that's a very physical thing. Even though you can't see it, you get this, that kind of intuitive message that says, don't go to this place, or don't do that thing, or you need to go to this place. So it's like just being very self-aware. So intuition, being self-aware, and then also taking that self-care. Now, earlier today, I saw a video of yours, Angel, when you were talking about consciousness capacity, and meaning like you have like your body, or, well, I don't know, your consciousness, you have like a finite amount. And you were saying that if you were like stressed, that you have to focus on that stress in order to lower that level. Like you can't get more bandwidth. You have to learn how to reduce what you have in order to have more room to take care of what you have to take care of. And I
actually want to stop you there for a second.
Okay.
Someone had a really interesting question on that topic on my IGTV today about consciousness capacity. Like, well, how do we get more bandwidth? And my response was, no, you want less. So you actually don't ever want to fill up all the capacity. The thing is that you have all the wiggle room. Now you're like thriving. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that because it was something that stood in my mind, because I know you commented on that as well.
Yes, I did. That's where I got that from, because it made great sense to me that it's not about getting more bandwidth so you can take on more stress. It's about learning how to reduce your stress level in order for you to be able to make that change. Exactly. Yeah. And to make that change that you need to make, because as you're saying, like when you're in that really high stress, if you're in a really stressed place, or you're dealing with a chronic situation that's really taking all of your attention, it's hard to come from that place of how do I solve this, or how do I overcome this, because you were so in the thick of it.
Survival mode.
Yes, you're in survival mode. Exactly. So it's like, okay, how can I get out of that mode? How can I lower my stress? And so you said it might be a nap, or it might be meditation. And when we're in the thick of it, it's kind of difficult sometimes to take that time to try to lower it, because sometimes we just want to solve it. You know, we want to go and do this thing and do that thing, and I'm going to do this. And as you said, like you want to have this plan, step 1, step 2, step 3, when really you need to maybe take a nap. You need to have a bath. You need to just stop trying to find more ways to do different things, and maybe find ways to do less things, and to make space for those downloads to come. It's really hard to make those changes when you're in that stressful place. You have to come from a place of Florence Scovel Shinn is this metaphysical writer, and she said that our ships come over calm seas. And what that means by we have to get ourselves in sort of like a state of grace before we can get to that place of finding those solutions. The solutions don't come when we are actively, trying to duke it out. Like, oh, I got to do this, got to do that. And it's very counterintuitive. So the part about being self-aware is about catching yourself when you find yourself trying to solve things on a totally different level, when sometimes it will be better for you to sit your ass down and listen, and listen to your spirit guides and meditate. But when we're in the thick of things, it's so difficult to do that.
Wow.
So now I have I know of people that might have like a chronic health issue or romance issue, and they spend a lot of time complaining about it. Now, I'm not saying that like your pain isn't valid, because of course it is, but at some point, in order to make changes, in order to overcome, we have to like take space for ourselves in order for that solution to come to us. Like, okay, what do we need to do? And if all we're doing is complaining about a situation, we're not going to get the solutions that we need. So it's a very counterintuitive thing, but we need to be self-aware, because also all of the complaining that we do, all of that busyness that we get into, that also adds to our energy, and we feel it. So if that means we need to just check ourselves, check our energy, check our aura, that is one of the best things we can do in order to make space for those solutions to happen.
Right. Wow. Okay. So we've got 3 so far. Is there any other steps here? Because they're pretty deep steps here. We've got intuition, self-awareness, and then self-care.
And I guess self-help would be the last one. I am the self-help witch, but meaning like that's when it comes to, okay, I'm going to actually actively take steps to make changes. So self-help is like, I'm going to make a decision to take the steps that I need. So that means I'm going to stop working on weekends, or I'm going to stop hanging out with this person that I know is toxic. I am going to make time to have sit down dinner with my partner. Like, these are like, you're taking physical active steps. So that's your self-help, meaning like you are making decisions and taking actions to make changes in your life.
So this last step is like the activation process.
Yes.
And I know that you do a lot of like Magick. I know your whole brand is really about Magick. So is that like an activation? Would somebody come, I mean, you're the self-help witch. I'm assuming they would use these magical tools and these divination ceremonies, if you will, to activate what it is, that intention that they're looking for.
Oh yes, definitely. So I would have, I prefer to have like magical and mundane. So for example, there would be some kind of ritual, but a ritual also has to have a physical component. So if you're doing a ritual to get a new job, or you want to start a business or raise more money, then you also have to have a physical step that also does the same thing. They work in conjunction. So that is how that is definitely a self-help thing. You have to take the steps.
Love it. Okay. So I know we're about wrapping up here. I know you have an awesome free course. I'm actually on your mailing list. I love getting your emails. Tell us about the free course and where they can grab it.
Sure. You can get that free course. It is like how to customize your own personal spells and rituals. It's at queenupclub.com/spell. Easy enough. And then also, all the magic happens on Marie Lizzo on Instagram.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here, Aunt Carla, my crazy Aunt Carla friend.
Yes, that's me.
Thank you, everybody who tuned into this episode of Divine Downloads. It's been a pleasure. Until next week, have a beautiful rest of your day, Aunt Carla. Bye to you guys in my audience. I'll see you guys real soon. Take care.
Bye.